went to jail when I was 15. I didn't get out till I was 22. A juvenile life, nigga, already. Feel me?
What did you get juvenile life for?
Man, kidnap, armed robbery, that type of shit, bro.
Grizzley, his house in LA was burglarized and nearly $1 million in jewelry and cash was stolen. So they smashed the window, got entrance into his house, and according to the police report, nobody was home at the time of the break-in. There is an open investigation.
Homie called me like, say money on my head and all this and all that. We got your mama address. They took me my mama address. Bam.
In today's video, we're going to be speaking about Shooter from the 5 Avalon Gangsters. We're going to break down his court cases, and we're also going to cover how T Grizzley would blame him for burglarizing his home. But let's dive into it. And for those that don't know who Shooter is, he would be a rapper from Los Angeles. And like we said, he's from the 5 Avalon Gangsters. And he's previously made appearances on podcasts like No Jumper and Back on Fig. And as you heard Shooter say in the beginning, he would spend majority of his childhood incarcerated from the age of 15 to 22. He was arrested for an armed robbery and a kidnapping, and they gave him juvenile life. And like we said, after doing 7 years, he would be released at the age of 22. And just a few months after being released after doing them 7 years, he would be arrested again. Him and 2 others were arrested on August 7th of 2018, and they were all 3 charged with 1 count of burglary. And it's alleged that on the day of August 7th of 2018, at around 10:30 in the morning, police were conducting an investigation for a burglary that happened. And while they were canvassing the area, they would see a vehicle with 3 passengers in it. And that's when they would pull over the vehicle and they would search it. And while officers were searching the vehicle, officers that were back at the scene of the crime would find evidence at the home that would link the 3 passengers to the burglary. And like we said, Shooter and 2 others would be charged with the crime. They would then all have to sit in the county jail and fight this case. But after 5 months, Shooter would take a plea deal on the burglary on January 16th of 2019. And on that same exact day, they would give him 2 years in state prison. And don't forget that he was only free for a couple months after doing 7 years. So they just gave him another 2 years after that. He was then released in the beginning of 2021, where he would stay out of trouble for a year and some change. But on October 24th of 2022, they would file a new case against Shooter. But as you can see at the bottom, the case type would be a misdemeanor. And he was arrested for brandishing a fake gun and assault on a person. And as you can see to the right, the offense date would be August 11th of 2022. But after sitting in the county jail for 1 month, on November 22nd of 2022, they would let him be released on his own recognizance. But just 2 months after being released, he would be arrested again on January 10th of 2023. And this time he was arrested for 1 count of being a felon in possession of a firearm, 1 count of carrying a loaded firearm in public, and 1 count of carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle. And 2 months after being arrested, he would bail out for $95,000 on March 15th of 2023. And 2 days before they granted the bail, they would allow him to be released on his own recognizance on the misdemeanor case. So now at this point, he was fighting 2 separate cases. 1 case was felon in possession of a firearm, and the other case, which was a misdemeanor, was assault on a person and brandishing a fake gun. But just 3 weeks after bailing out, Shooter would be arrested again on April 1st of 2023, and he was arrested again for having another gun. So they would charge him with felon in possession of a firearm, and the other count would be willfully discharging a firearm in a negligent manner. He would then have to sit in the county jail for about 7 months fighting this case, but on November 27th of 2023, he would bail out for $170,000. And they would also allow the bail from the other case to stand. So at this point, he was out on a $265,000 worth of bail, and he was fighting 3 separate cases. 1 misdemeanor, which was the assault and brandishing a fake gun. The second case was a gun case, and then the third case was another gun case and a shooting. And 2 months after bailing out, Shooter would have his first gun case dismissed. And they would dismiss both counts on January 30th of 2024. So now at this point, he's fighting 2 cases. 1 which was the misdemeanor, and then the second case was the gun case and the shooting. But just 1 month after having that case dismissed, Shooter would be arrested again on February 16th of 2024. They would charge him with 1 count of premeditated attempted murder, but as you can see, it would have 3 enhancements on it. And the second count would be first-degree home invasion, and as you can see, that would also have enhancements on it. But if you look to the right, the offense date was November 18th of 2022, which was a whole 2 years before he was even arrested. They would then revoke his $170,000 bail, and he would have to sit in the county jail fighting 2 cases. The first case, which was a gun case and a shooting, and then this case, which was an attempted murder and a home invasion. And he's still currently fighting both of these cases. And as of recently, Shooter would go viral because he would drop the paperwork of T Grizzley telling on him. But before we break down the paperwork, let's dive into the situation. T Grizzley's house was burglarized on September 17th of 2022, where they would make out with $1 million worth of jewelry and cash. And according to the paperwork that Shooter posted, On September 28th of 2022, which would be a week after the burglary, detectives would meet up with T. Grizzley. They would say that the thieves made off with $1 million in cash, jewelry, and multiple expensive handbags. But the day of the burglary, nobody happened to be at T. Grizzley's house because that would be the day of his wedding. Detectives then gave T. Grizzley a photo lineup of 6 individuals. He would then pick out Shooter from the photo lineup and say that he recognized them as one of the people that probably entered his home. And according to the paperwork, T. Grizzley showed detectives a photo of the thieves inside of his house, and one of them happened to be wearing a black and white hoodie. And again, according to this paperwork, T. Grizzley would show detectives a photo of Shooter's Instagram of him wearing the same exact sweater. Detectives would then show T. Grizzley a photo of Shooter talking to 2 other people on FaceTime. And that's when T. Grizzley would tell detectives that in that FaceTime call, he got Shooter to admit his role in the burglary. And this right here would be the FaceTime that they're talking about.
You ain't hear this from me, bro. You ain't hear this from me, alright? Like 4 or 5 in it, on that shit beside the other nigga, beside the nigga that I sent y'all that put the whole play together, that fuck with them niggas. Alright, it's Nick, it's my cousin from schoolyard, bro. Boom. Mexican niggas from Great and 2 niggas from home. They all get money together, they all fuck around, kicking around, you feel me? Boom. Them niggas that's press play on, you feel me? Yeah. Now them niggas, they jeweler, they want to fuck with her. They see all the face, they see the face. They're like, oh, exactly. We ain't fuck with it. They're like.
And the crazy part is that nobody's been arrested for the burglary of T. Grizzley yet, including Shooter. Because like we said, as of right now, Shooter would be in jail for 2 separate cases. One gun case and a shooting, and then the second case would be an attempted murder and a first-degree home invasion. But like we said, as you can see to the right, the offense date of the home invasion would be November 18th of 2022, and T. Grizzley's home was robbed on September 17th of 2022, which would be 2 months apart. And I'm not a lawyer, so according to Google, Los Angeles County has 3 years to file a felony residential burglary case. And like we said, this happened on September 17th of 2022, and so far, no charge has been filed. So technically, if this is true, the statute of limitations is up. And also, like we said, if that's true according to Google, that means nobody went to jail behind the burglary of T. Grizzley. And again, if what we've seen on Google is correct, then it makes sense why Shooter would post the paperwork now, which would be 3 years later after the statute of limitations. And according to Shooter, it's alleged that T. Grizzley had money on his head around that time.
I'll make a long story short, nigga. My face going around, they say money on my head and all this and all that. The homie called me like, hey, these niggas wanna holler at you, whoop. They trying to say you did this. Before they make a move, they wanna whoop, you feel me? So I'm like, all right, what's up? So they put me on the line. They saying whoopty whoop and whoopty whoop, saying you did it, you feel me, like that. We got your mama address. They tell me my mama address. Bam. They ring my mama address, you feel me? Whole time they like, oh, we don't know if you really did it, or they probably could be blaming it on you, you feel me? So this isn't that. So I'm like, all right, what it, all right, smooth, you feel me? So them calls all different times, so they called me back. I'm like, man, look, you ain't hear this from me, but whoa, that's when I said that, you feel me? But what I should have did was called in, you feel me? But a nigga went straight, you feel me? But if I didn't want to tell them, bro, I know what really happened. Them niggas had nothing to do with nothing, you feel me? If anything, I lied on them, bro, but that shit went straight. On the day, I went straight.
But like we said, as of right now, Shooter would be facing life in prison with the 2 cases that he's fighting. Like we said, one would be a gun case and a shooting, and the other would be an attempted murder and a home invasion. And on top of that, the second case would have a bunch of enhancements on it. And don't forget that this home invasion has nothing to do with T. Grizzley. But that right there is going to wrap up the story of Shooter from 5 Avalon Gangsters. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. But comment, like, and subscribe. It's Respectable Rants.